second.
Thank you. All right, good evening, everyone, and welcome to the April 27th, 2021 meeting of the Town of Islip Zoning Board of Appeals. We'll start by reading the public notice. Notice is hereby given that due to the novel coronavirus COVID-19 pandemic and recent executive orders issued by the governor, the Town of Islip Zoning Board of Appeals hearing scheduled for Tuesday, April 27, 2021 at 6 p.m. will be held electronically via Zoom webinar instead of an in-person public hearing and will be streamed live over the internet. Dated April 16th, 2021, John M. Lorenzo, Chairman. Mr. Chairman, our first hearing tonight is number 234-21. Lucia Domingo and Jessepina Menina, trustees of the Joanne Menina Family Irrevocable Trust. Permission to erect a second-story deck, leaving a side yard of 6.8 feet instead of the required 14 feet. Residence A District, west side of Patricia Avenue, number 1160. 87.5 feet south of Brancatelli Court, West Islip, New York. Is there anyone here for the applicant?
She's here, but I don't think I have co-host status yet, Tom, so that I can move her in. So if anybody else can grab Roxanne Trella and move her in, but I'm sure Tom will give me co-host very quickly. Sorry, Ben, I didn't know if I should
No
jump in.
worries. No worries.
Okay, thank you, Tom. Here she comes.
You're up, Ms. Trella.
Good evening, Mr. Chairman, members of the board. How are you?
Good evening, Roxanne. How are you?
Great, thank you. Roxanne Trella, Dynamic Expediting with offices at 1040 Terry Road, Ronkonkoma, New York.
What's going on? State your case.
I'm sorry?
State your case, go ahead. What's going on?
Okay. So we're here to have permission to erect a second-story deck. The proposed deck is 22 by 24, and it would leave the side yard at 6.8 feet instead of the 14 feet that's required in this zone. There is a prior decision for this property for a roofed over patio from September 6, 2013 under case 460-13. And it's for the exact side yard of 6.8 instead of 14. So what the client was looking to do was to build this second story deck exactly on top of where this roof over currently exists. And I did explain to her, that it was a relaxation that we don't normally see with the board. So we looked at the property and we looked specifically at the neighbor next door that it would mostly impact. And what we were able to see was that the neighbor to her south, which is the direct neighbor impacted by this, their front yard actually goes back pretty far. It's about over 90 feet. So the front of their house is well behind where the second story deck would be. So if you're on the second story deck, basically if you looked over into the neighbor's yard, you would only be able to see their front yard versus, their dwelling or into their house or into their yard.
Do we have a aerial?
I'm sorry?
I'm looking for the other from Deidre. So that's the house that we're speaking of with the,
Yeah, where the cursor is.
that second story deck is pretty much in their front yard right there by their house, it looks like to me, no?
Yeah. So that's the
It
currently
looks like the
the
impact
roof
on the
over.
neighbor would be de minimis.
Oh, I don't think so.
What is
I
the
respectfully
rationale?
disagree.
Yeah, what is the rationale of giving a relaxation over 50%? That's substantial.
When you
What is-
already have one, And now you're compounding it by adding it, by going up.
Yeah. And we're always sensitive to looking into next door neighbor's property, Roxanne.
Correct, which is why I thought this was a unique case and not something that we usually see, because this second story deck is right in the front yard, which is what's visible from the street anyway. So they're not seeing anything from this second story deck that anyone could see that's just driving by the house.
Right, so there's no invasion of privacy because there's no privacy there to begin with.
Correct.
Well, that's
I
not
don't
true.
view
What
that
about,
as being
is the
unique.
house, is the house next door a two-story house?
It appears to be from
Right,
the
so now
area.
you're building something where you are invading what normally you couldn't see on the second floor of that house. People will be able to see in from the deck. So I'm with Mr. Wexler on this one.
Yeah, I have to agree with Mr. Messina, Mr. Wexler. I think that this is intrusive, being that they already have a side yard of 6'8", and now trying to go up top over it. That's just my opinion on it. Does anyone wish to be heard in this application?
Can I just add one more thing? I'm sorry, Mr. Chairman, so I didn't mean to interrupt you. So I did speak to the client, and I did tell her that this is usually the way the board goes because of its second story deck is viewed a little bit more crucially because of the invasion of privacy. And I did ask her if she would be willing to push the deck in a little bit more than the current 6.8 that her roof overholds. So what we were able to come up with her as an alternative was to where that landing is right now on this is the new revised plan. So the landing, we pushed it in 3 feet and reworked the landing and the stairs, and it would give her a 9.8 relax. So she would maintain 9.8 instead of the 6.8.
That doesn't assuage any of my fears.
If the, in my opinion, if we were going to, in my head, look at this, it would have to be in line with the house, which is
Well,
not a big deck at all.
Deirdre, is there any precedent?
There's no precedent in the area.
We did look at other options. You know, we did try to see with the architect if we could go over that existing 1-story, but it wasn't possible. The load would be too much for that addition to hold the deck. We did look at the possibility of the other side, but the side yard setback there was even less than it is on this side. And if we brought it back to in line with the dwelling, it would cut her proposed deck by almost over 50%.
Yeah, except you could go back further, you could go deeper onto the property. So, I mean, in terms of square footage, that's easy to, come up with an equal amount. It may not be as attractive to her because it's longer, more like a bowling alley than it is a rectangle, square. But, that is an option, whether your client wishes to avail him or herself of it or not.
Can we
you like to
reserve on
take-
this so we could talk about it?
Well,
Sure, Chris, of
sure,
course.
we can, but, or we can see if Ms. Trella would like to have an adjournment and discuss other ways that she may be able to get this deck built for our client.
Yeah, you may, I don't understand one thing, Ms. Trella. If you
Yeah.
go directly over the existing, it can't support the weight. But if you build something larger and over it, it can support the weight.
Well, it's being built over the roof over that currently exists there, not the 1-story. So it's a lot easier for the architect to come up with a way for it to be structurally sound when it's just 4 posts on a roof over versus having to beef up a foundation for living space. So the cost would be substantial. It'd be almost like, redoing that 1-story addition so that it could support the deck.
All right, thank you.
Would you want an adjournment, Ms. Trella, or would you want us to reserve and Were you looking for the German to talk to your client or not? Or-
Well, we really did try all of the options. And what we tried to keep in line with what they're looking for was around, the 9.8, 10 feet, instead of the 14. And being that, we don't believe that this would cause any kind of precedent. This is a unique situation. The second story deck, while it is a second story deck, the neighboring property, it's looking into their front yard, which is completely visible from the street. So the invasion of privacy that usually exists doesn't here.
All right, so Mr. Nicoli would like to make a reserved decision and we can discuss it as a board. Does anyone wish to be heard in this application? Does the board have any questions? Mr. Wex, I'll take a motion.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I'll make a motion that we reserve decision.
Second.
Second.
All in favor?
Thank you.
Thank you. Our next application, number 235-21, Maria Salinas. Permission to establish accessory apartment pursuant to Islip Town Code Section 68-602 to erect a one-story addition, leaving a front yard of 38.9 feet instead of the required 40 feet and a side yard of 13.2 feet instead of the required 14 feet, to leave a shed having a side yard of 1 foot instead of the required 2 feet, and a shed having a side yard of 1.6 feet instead of the required 2 feet, not having 20 feet behind the front line of the dwelling, and to leave a driveway having a side yard of 1.6 feet instead of the required 4 feet, Residence A District, east side of Brentwood Road, number 1643, 283 feet north of Greg Lane, Brentwood. Is there anyone here for the applicant?
Good evening again, Mr. Chairman, members of the board. Roxanne Trella, Dynamic Expediting with offices at 1040 Terry Road, Ronkonkoma, New York.
Good evening.
Good evening. So we are here to establish an accessory apartment. The property is owner occupied. The apartment is 429 square feet, and we're here for relaxation for the driveway. It maintains a side yard setback of 1.6 instead of the required 4. The one-story addition that they're speaking of is just a piece of the front of the house where we're enclosing an existing breezeway and relocating the front door. So it will maintain a front yard of 38.9 feet instead of 40 and a side yard of 13.2 instead of 14. There are 2 sheds. One is in the rear of the property and only needs a 1 side yard relaxation. It's 1.6 instead of 2 feet. And the second shed is not behind the front line of the dwelling and also needs a side yard relaxation of 1.6 instead of 2. And that shed has been there for over 10 years.
So the one that's not, everything else seems de minimis to me. The one that's not 20 feet behind the front line of the dwelling, that's the issue that I have. It seems like a small shed. Could they move it? How long has it been there? What's it made out of?
It's been there for over 10 years.
But it's not even 10 feet behind the front line of the dwelling.
Correct. We did speak to the client and we did explain that she may have to relocate it and she's okay with doing so.
How about we relocate that shed? Does that work?
Sure.
Okay. Does anyone wish to be heard in this application? Does the board have any questions? Mr. Nicoli, I'll take a motion.
Motion to grant the application
Second.
and to grant the accessory apartment portion for a period of 3 years.
Nope.
Second.
No, hold on. We're relocating that shed. It's not 20 feet behind the front line as well.
That's not happening, huh, Mr. Chairman?
All right. I got turned around. Motion to deny that portion of the application for the shed not having the required 20 feet behind the front line of the dwelling, to grant the balance of the application, and to grant the accessory apartment for a period of 3 years. Did I get it all right?
Now I'll second it, Mr.
Okay.
Nicoli, again.
All in favor?
I got messed up. I apologize.
You did
You
great.
really wanted to let me keep it.
She was very convincing.
There you go. Next item is number
Have a good night,
236-21.
guys.
Oh, you too.
Roxanne.
Progressive Housing Corp. Permission to leave enclosed front porch 7.7 feet by 25 feet, having a side yard of 9.5 feet, and a second story deck having a side yard of 8 feet instead of the required 14 feet each. Expanding non-conforming use by less than 25%. Residence B District, east side of Bay Shore Avenue, number 27, 528.2 feet north of Montauk Highway, Bay Shore. Is there anyone here for the applicant?
Good evening, Mr. Chairman, members of the board. Good to see you all. Bob Jarosak's Progressive Housing Corp. creates affordable housing by acquiring distressed properties.
How about your name and address for
Together,
the
of
record,
course, with-
sir? How about your name and address for the record?
Oh, sorry. I thought you all knew me. It's Doug Hines, Design Development Group, Stony Brook, New York, for the applicant.
So we'll
Sorry.
put in the applicant, in the record, in the transcript, some guy we knew came and presented. All right, there we go.
It's kind of the way my wife views it. I was saying that Bob Jarosak's Progressive Housing Corp. creates affordable housing by acquiring distressed properties, which come, of course, with improvements made without benefit of permits, as is the case here. He rehabilitates them and has done so over 100 times in the Bay Shore community alone over the past 8 years. Bob is in transit. I have the ability to get him on the phone if need be, but I'm familiar with the property and can address the issues. We call this the case of the misplaced house. We say that because this house sits on one of the largest lots in the area. Substantially all of them, including ours, nonetheless, are deficient as to the 100-foot width of lot required in the B zone. Due to the probably accidental placement of the original structure at a side yard setback of only 8 feet and an inch or so, when 10 feet was the minimum, we of course inherited a non-conforming structure, although it has a CO. The irony is that we have aggregate side yards of 49 feet when only 28 feet is the requirement, leading us, of course, to request relief as to the 8-foot setback for the deck structure and the 9.5-foot setback to the enclosed front porch. The front porch open is on the CO, has now been enclosed. The deck of unknown age was built without benefit of a permit. As it turns out, Bob's company owns the house adjacent to this property on the north, as well as the 2 homes behind this property. These are all approved multifamily dwellings for 2 or 3 family use. The subject property is a 2-family home, so that second-level deck structure affords the upstairs tenant the use and enjoyment of the rear yard without unduly interfering with the ground-level tenant's backyard activities. While the relief requested is arguably considerable with respect to the deck, and although there may be no area precedence for an 8-foot side yard, that 8 feet is indeed the actual existing setback to the original house. The modest deck that we have there follows the line of the house straight back to the rear. The lot is otherwise consistent with the nature and character of the area, primarily because all of the other neighborhood lots are smaller and more cramped in appearance than ours. That is our application, and we respectfully request for your favorable consideration.
Great, thank you. Did you any precedent in the area?
No precedent for the,
That's
no
wild.
precedent for the second story deck. Sorry.
Must be too close to someone.
Do you have 2 computers on?
Yeah.
That's it. You have to mute one.
Yeah, sorry, Deirdre. Deirdre asked me if I could help out and mute that second computer, but I don't see it in the panelist list to do that.
It's under my name.
Oh, they're both under your name?
Yeah, I see it.
Okay, well, oh, it is muted. The second one is muted, Deirdre.
Could we,
Okay.
Deirdre, could we see
That-
an,
Better, can you hear me?
oh, perfect.
Yeah.
Can we see the aerial, please, while you're educating us?
Okay, sorry.
No, that's okay. Don't be,
Just trying to figure it out.
no, no, no.
And
I get it.
Deirdre,
I'm not.
Deirdre, please, while you're doing that, I think you have precedent of 10 feet, don't you?
Yes, for the enclosed porch, there's precedent for 10 feet. There's just,
Thank you.
Yeah, it's not the porch I'm worried about.
This is harkens back to the application. I guess it was number 1 on the calendar.
Yeah, I know, right?
Same
It
thing.
does, Mr. Wexler, and I respect that and considered it thoroughly, except in several respects. 1, we follow the line of the house straight back. 2, we look only into the neighboring rear yard, and
That
we
doesn't
own
help
that
you as
property
much.
and the properties behind it. So I understand, but of course we consent to the relief sought. I would also make this observation, and I've been thinking about this for a while. I think a second-story deck is arguably less intrusive than a second-story addition to a house, in that the deck has seasonal and episodic use as opposed to an extension that has windows open with sounds coming out, and the same invasion of privacy that you discussed in the first hearing. I followed that discussion very closely. I make that observation, but we defer to the judgment of the board in this matter.
That's a very good argument, Mr. Hines.
Mr.
Not that I'm
Hines, I
buying
have
it, but it
made
was a
the-
very good
I
argument.
have made the exact opposite argument to the Village of Saltaire Zoning Board of Appeals for an extension, and they told me I was wrong.
There you
Just
go.
behave
What do they-
yourself.
Do we have an
Just behave
aerial,
yourself.
Ms. Ryan?
I knew your late grandfather very well and respected him. He probably would have agreed with me.
Yes, only
And-
if you bought concrete from him.
So actually,
It does hold the line of the house also, so it's a little different than the first application that was extended into the side yard.
it also is, it's the width that's the problem here, not the length, right? The length goes back along the back of the house or the
Yes.
side of it, whatever.
And the width is not that wide, so I don't believe that there's that much impact on the neighbor.
Deirdre, would it be okay if I just share my screen for a second? Let's see.
How old is this house?
That's what I was just gonna discuss with the board a little bit. This is a
48.
legal non-conforming. This is a legal non-conforming to, can you see this, the screen I just shared?
No,
No.
Okay, hold on. Here we go. Here it is. You'll recognize the style of the house. And the CO is sparse, but in 1958, as a certificate of compliance, it was issued its CO for a two-family dwelling. I'm going to look up now and tell you what year it was built, but by that construction style, I guess around 1920.
Yeah,
all
I'm
right.
familiar with that area, and
You got me, Ms.
I don't find the
Pacino.
impact to be that egregious on this.
I mean, I'm not thrilled about it, but this is much less impactful.
Does anyone wish to be heard in this application? Does the board have any further questions? Mr. Nicole, I'll take a motion.
motion to
Second.
grant the
All in favor?
application in light of
Aye.
the small impact.
And the
All
assessor,
right.
the assessor's records indicate the house was built in 1920. Good guess on my part.
Very good guess, Ms.
Mhm.
Pissarro, but you never cease to impress us.
Educated, maybe. Okay,
There you
Deirdre,
go.
I'm done sharing.
Next application is number two.
Thank you all very much. Good evening.
Thank you, Mr. Hines. Next application, number 237-21, Michael and Nancy Melling. Permission to erect a one-story addition, 16 feet by 30.1 feet, leaving a front yard of 28.6 feet instead of the required 30 feet, side yard of 12.6 feet instead of required 14 feet, and a portico 5.1 feet by 7 feet, leaving a front yard of 28.2 feet instead of the required 30 feet. Residence A District, east side of Pond Road, number 2310, 770.78 feet north of Peconic Street, Ronkonkoma. Is there anyone here for the applicant?
Just give me 1 second. I'll move up. He's got his hand up and I'm moving you in right now with the client. His name is Dennis Cook.
Do you see me? Hello?
Oh,
Do you hear me?
we can hear you. Name and address for the record, please.
Dennis Cook, 10 Vanderwater Street, Farmingdale, New York, 11735. I'm representing the Mellings today. They're proposing to add an addition to their home, which will make their one-car garage into a two-car garage. And they would also like to add a portico to the front of the house. We're asking for an allowance of 1.8 feet for the portico because it's 28.2 feet instead of the 30 feet required in Residence A. And we're asking for 1.4 feet on the side yard, where the garage is proposed to be extended into a two-car garage. The client is requesting the portico because that area, they get a lot of water on the current stoop, and in the wintertime it freezes, so they just want some protection when they're entering their home, especially in the wintertime. And for the garage, they would like a two-car garage because they actually use their garage for their cars, and they want to park both cars in the garage and also protect them and the cars from the elements when getting into the house.
All right. I'm sorry, go ahead.
Mr. Cook, you're doing fine. So why don't we just see what the chairman would like to do now?
Deirdre, any objection from planning?
No objections from planning. There's precedent for both.
And they're de minimis, right?
Very small.
Does anyone wish to be heard in this application? Does the board have any further questions? Mr. Messina, I'll take a motion.
Chairman, I move to grant the application.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Application granted. Have a great day.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Next
Have a
application
good
number,
day.
you too. Next application number 238-21, Rosemary Napolitano, Life Estate, and Joseph J. Napolitano and Catherine Napolitano to renew permit for two-family use only, Residence B District, west side of Illinois Avenue, number 1364, 250 feet south of Dakota Avenue, Bay Shore. Is there anyone here for the applicant?
I am here.
And
Good
you
evening,
are?
name
Your
and
name and
address,
address?
Catherine Napolitano, 1364 Illinois Avenue in Bay Shore, New York.
How are you tonight?
Good, how are you?
Doing great. So you're here to renew permit two-family use only. It's based on medical. Everything's in order, man?
Yes.
Everything's in order at some, at this.
Oh, I thought you were talking to me. I'm sorry.
It's okay, that was the right answer, ma'am.
All right.
Everything's in order. At some point over the life of this two-family use only, Catherine, it switched from the care of your mother to the care of you, right?
Yes.
Right. Okay, so we have medical as the hardship.
All right. Does anyone wish to be heard in this application? Board have any questions? Mr. Nicole, I'll take a motion.
Motion to grant the application for a period of 3 years.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Application granted. See you in a few years.
I do want to tell you, the guy that works in the zoning board of appeals is great. He was so nice.
Okay.
I don't know his name, but that
That's
young
great.
gentleman there is great.
Yes,
Whoever that
Young
is.
gentleman, it must be you, Mr. Wexler.
William
Young
Wexler.
gentleman.
Oh, is it you?
No.
Yeah, I'm claiming.
All right,
I'm
thank
taking
you.
credit.
That would be Austin. That would be Austin, Catherine, and we'll compliment him.
Yes,
He'll be
he's
watching.
great.
No.
Thank you.
I was looking for some
Thanks,
bread.
I know, just a little bit of compliment from Mr. Wexler. You can't let him have that, huh?
I need it.
Boy, are you mean, Ms. Becerra. Next application was adjourned from April 6, 2021. It is number 188-21, Maria La Paz, to renew permit for two-family use only, Residence AA District, west side of Bright Shore Boulevard, number 1584, 980.06 feet south of Locust Drive, Bay Shore. Is there anyone here for the applicant?
Maria is here.
Yay.
Yes, I'm here.
Good evening.
Yes, she is.
Name and address for the record, please.
1584 Bright Shore Boulevard,
Great, how are
Bayshore,
you?
New York, Bayshore, New York, 11706,
Great.
Maria
Yeah.
La Paz.
Thank you so much. You're here to renew permit two-family use only. It's based on age. Everything's in order, Mary?
Everything's in order.
Great.
How
Does
come this
anyone
was
wish to be heard-
adjourned?
Excuse me?
Why was this adjourned?
So these applications have been with us for a year because when the pandemic started, we weren't sure how we were going to do these two-family renewals. So we said we can't wait any longer for the hearings to be in person. And I have to say, everybody is doing great with the Zoom format. So you'll continue to see about 3 of them until we catch up.
No. How come this was adjourned from
Oh,
April
because we
6th?
mailed a public notice to Ms. La Paz and she happened to be out of the country.
Thank you. Okay.
Oh, I remember that.
I just wasn't sure. I apologize, Chairman.
No problem.
I'm old and I'm forgetful.
It's all right. You're not, old. Age is only a number.
Age is a state of mind.
It is a state of mind.
Then I'm 90.
Mr. Nicole, I'll take a motion.
Motion to grant the application for a period of 3 years.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Have a
I
good
just
night.
want, I just want to say that's Ms. Passaro's training of me to always ask that question. So I'm throwing that to her. Next application is number 239-21 Carolina Cangialosi.
What Italian
Cangelosi.
are you?
Cangelosi, excuse me. Thank you, Mr. Nicolia. To renew permit for family use only, Residence B District, south side of Morton Street, number 56, 250 feet east of Madison Avenue, Brentwood, New York. Is there anyone here for the applicant?
Yes.
Good evening.
Good evening.
Name and address for the record, please.
Name and address for the record.
You could see me?
I can see
Yes,
you. How are you?
and your great smile. That's a great smile.
Well, I gotta tell you, your name and your address.
Oh, Carolina Cangelosi, 56 Morton Street, Brentwood, New York, 11717.
Great, thank you. You're here to renew permit to family use only. It's based on age. Carolina, I'm not gonna say your age. And everything's in order, Mary?
Everything's in order.
All right. Does anyone wish to be heard in this application? Does the board have any questions?
I just have one question. Ms. Cangelosi, would you believe that Mr. Messina, who butchered your last name, is Italian?
For shame, for shame. I beg your indulgence.
Mr. Nicole, I'll take a motion.
Motion to grant the application for a period of 3 years.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Be in 3 years. Have a great night.
Thank
Okay,
you.
you too. Bless you. Thank you.
Our next application is number
That, you know,
That's it. You could just leave.
Did we lose Mr. Messina?
We may have. He may have fell off his chair when Nicole made fun.
I see him back in now, just muted.
Okay, sorry about that. Now I'll try this again. I don't know how I got muted.
I thought maybe I offended you.
And I went off in a huff. All right. Gumbattista Leggio, permission to erect a two-story dwelling on a lot having an area of 5504.23 feet instead of the required 7,500 square feet, lot width of 50 feet instead of the required 75 feet, leaving side yards of 13.2 feet instead of the required 14 feet each, total side yards of 26.4 feet instead of the required 28 feet, and a floor area ratio of 30.1% instead of permitted 25%. Residence B District, north side of Benjamin Street, number 23, 466 feet west of 4th Avenue, Bay Shore, New York. Is there anyone here for the applicant?
Yes, Mr. Chairman, members of the board, appearing on behalf of the applicant, Eugene L. D. Nicola, 200 Railroad Avenue, Sayville, New York.
Good evening.
Good evening, members of the board. The applicant is requesting area variances set forth in the call of the meeting to permit the construction of a two-story, single-family dwelling on the subject parcel. The subject property is located on the north side of Benjamin Avenue, 466 feet west of 4th Avenue, Bay Shore. The subject parcel is located in a residential area which developed prior to zoning in part and prior to the area being placed in the Residence B District with its current dimensional requirements. Some parcels are improved with dwellings that were erected as long ago as 1890, which is 17 Benjamin Avenue, and 1907, 21 Benjamin Avenue. The subject premises and much of the area is located on the map of Bay Shore Improvement Company, which map was filed in the Suffolk County Clerk's Office, May 15, 1913, as map number 283. Now, the lots on the file map were laid out grid style in lots having widths of 25 feet, generally to a depth of 100 feet. However, there are variations in lot depth. In the instant case, the map lot line on the north side skews between North Center Avenue on the west and 4th Avenue on the east. So the depth of the lots start at approximately 82 feet and increase to 144 feet. That would be from west to east from North Center Avenue to 4th Avenue. The north side of Benjamin Avenue has 13 improved parcels of land between 4th Avenue and the on the east, 4th Avenue on the east, and a driveway-like access to North Center Avenue on the west. 9 of the parcels have lot widths of 50 feet and a plot area ranging from approximately 4,775 square feet to approximately 7,025 square feet. The increasing plot areas is due again to the skew of the map line, increasing the depth of the lots on the file map from west to east. This board, in case number 251-82, approved the subdivision of former tax lot 50, which is on the north side of Benjamin Avenue and is 75 feet east of the subject parcel. It divided the overall parcel into 2 parcels, now known as tax lots 50.1 and 50.2. The original parcel was 100 feet wide, but the subdivision created 2 50-foot wide parcels of land, each with a plot area substandard to the B Residence District plot area requirement. Tax lot 50.1 contains 6,345 square feet of plot area, and tax lot 50.2 contains approximately 6,675 square feet of plot area. The decision also granted a front yard setback variance for an existing dwelling on the parcel from that would be tax lot 50.1 to 17.65 feet and a side yard of 4.15 feet. So we created 2 50-foot lots with a reduction from 75 feet and 2 plots having less plot area than required. Now, within the 500-foot radius, there are approximately 125-foot parcels of land, of which 93 parcels do not meet the 75-foot width requirement. 71 parcels have width of lots between 40 feet and 50 feet, or roughly 57%. There is an additional 12 parcels having widths of lot from 51 feet to 69 feet. That's roughly another 10%.
So what you're saying is that this area is not going to change building this home on this lot? As we said.
Not at all. This particular proposed development is completely within the character of the neighborhood.
And I'm not sure if you said it yet or not, but any floor area ratio of 30.1, or is, you know, how we stop at 30 normally, or?
Well, 31.1 to have a reasonably decent size house. I mean, it's not a large house. We're meeting the side yards. They're 13.2 on each side. There was, I want to say something, Mr. Chairman.
Excuse me?
The subject.
Sir, you're gonna have to wait 1 second, sir.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Would you, if
Go ahead,
necessary,
Mr.
I can move them back to the attendee panel.
Yeah, go ahead, Mr. DiNicola, finish.
May I continue, Mr. Chairman?
Yes, I'm sorry about that.
Thank you. The subject parcel had a house. There was a house erected on this parcel, and upon information and belief, it's currently vacant. But a house did exist on the parcel. However, in or about 1981, following a fire, to the best upon information and belief, that house was demolished. So the parcel did support a house for many years. The applicant proposes to construct a new 2-story, 1-family dwelling, the elevations of which have been submitted to this board with the application. The previous dwelling, which was demolished, had an approximate 4-foot side yard on the west side. This new dwelling proposed will be centered on the parcel and will have 13.2-foot side yards instead of the required 14 feet. The proposed dwelling, that meets 94% of the side yard requirement. It will meet the front yard and rear yard setback requirements. The proposed dwelling, if you look at the plans that were submitted, is architecturally attractive, and a new dwelling on the subject parcel will constitute an improving benefit and added value to this neighborhood. The variance requests, when applied to the character of the neighborhood and the manner in which the neighborhood has developed, are not substantial. And when considering that the subject parcel previously contained a single-family dwelling with substandard setbacks, and by the way, many of the parcels in the area have substandard setbacks, the applicant's proposal will be a vast improvement over what previously existed, and again, the original dwelling on the parcel. I respectfully submit that in considering the variance requests, that there will be no detriment to the health, safety, or welfare of the neighborhood. If the area variances are granted and the single-family dwelling is constructed, there will be no undesirable change produced in the character of the neighborhood, nor will there be any detriment to nearby properties created. The benefit being sought by this applicant cannot be achieved except feasibly for the applicant to pursue other than the area variance is requested. The requested area variances are not substantial in relation to the neighborhood as it has developed, and the proposed variances, if approved, will not have an adverse impact on the physical or environmental conditions of the neighborhood. Mr. Chairman, members of the board, I respectfully request that this application be approved. Thank you. If there are any questions, attempt to answer them.
Deirdre from planning, any objection?
No objections. Like he previously stated, there's precedent in the area for side yards, for lot width. Not so much with the area, but it comes very close. With FAR, there's precedent, and there's a lot of lots in this area within the 500 feet that are substandard that
Yep.
are existing. So no objections.
So there is precedent for the FAR.
Yes, there's up to 31%. There's one that's 33.2, but I forget if I found a scan
All
for
right,
it.
I'm happy.
All right, great. Does anyone wish to be heard in this application?
Yes. The neighbor that was moved into the attendee panel. Here they come. Marie Toussaint.
Good evening. Good evening.
Good evening.
Name and address for the record, please.
Marie Toussaint, 21 Benjamin Street, Bayshore, New York, 11706.
Great. How are you tonight?
Good, how are you?
Good. State your case. What's going on?
So we're concerned about a two-story because the lot is pretty small and it's directly facing all our windows to the side that faces that property. We don't object to a structure, but we're concerned about a two-story structure.
It faces our bedroom and our daughter's bedroom.
And our family room, so we will be directly looking into their house and them into us.
And I appreciate that. They have precedent in the area for all the setbacks that they're seeking here. They meet the height. They're just looking for a little bit on the sides, which there's precedent for, and a little bit on the floor area ratio, which there's more precedence for on that. So they also meet there's many areas in plots in your area that have the lot width that they're looking for, and some a little smaller also. So it's very difficult for us to say to them when they have precedent in the area, not changing nature and character neighborhood, that because someone may not like to look at a two-story, when they meet most of the criteria, it's hard for us to hang our hat on that.
Miss Toussaint, do you have a single story or a two-story?
I have a two-story.
Okay, thank you.
And the house, I guess that would be on the right side, is also a two-story. So being that it's given that size and how I would assume how narrow this house would have to be, that we're all going to be looking at each other.
Yeah, well, they have the right to have a two-story also if they meet requirements or don't change nature, character, neighborhood, which obviously they did not meet requirements. That's why they're here, but we have precedent in the area on that. So we appreciate your concerns tonight.
In a prior case, you guys stated that they'd be looking into our yard, looking into our home.
Yeah, so the difference between that and this is that on that application or on those applications, there was significant requests for relief. Here, they're asking for 0.8 of a foot. That's it. They wouldn't even need our approval for that, but for 0.8 of a foot. So, it's not like we're talking about cutting the requirement in half. They're just talking about a tiny little bit of relief. The code permits this otherwise.
If I could just,
Again,
can I just
I'm
help
sorry.
out with, I'm just going to help out with one thing, Mr. Toussaint. So if we're looking at your house, the new house is going to be built to the left, correct?
if we're facing our house, yes, it's to the left.
Okay, so Deirdre, can you scroll back up to the floor plan? The floor plan, I'm sure just has a little typo on it. It says first floor and first floor, but I think the image in the center is the second floor plan. I
That
don't
is
know if-
correct, Madam Secretary.
Thank you. I don't know if that gives you any comfort at all, but the living space on the top floor is on the opposite side of the house. Does everybody see that?
Oh, yeah, you're right. Just the stairway, it's the bathroom, but it's all the bedrooms are on the opposite side.
If I may just ask a question of Deidre. Deidre, could you tell us what is the nature and character of the area interspersed with 2-floor homes?
2-floor homes, I'm not too sure about. I could do some research and I could find out, but I don't have that readily available.
Well, we know there's at least one next door and one across the street.
Well, there's two, one on either
Two next
side,
door.
Mr. Wexler.
Either side. Okay.
We're not concerned about putting a 1-floor dwelling. That's not our concern. Our concern is when they go up and how close it is to our bedroom and my daughter's bedroom when they go up.
Yeah, but Ms. Pissaro's point was that it's not like there's going to be windowed bedrooms on that side of the house facing your house. So
Yeah.
there is no invasion of privacy on your parcel. Maybe the people on the other side might have some kind of argument, but you don't, because there's a stairway on that side, and a bathroom, other things. So there's no living area on that side of the house that would be impacting your property.
And again, as we said earlier, sir, there is precedent in the area for this. So it's difficult for us to tell someone that meets the criteria or somewhat meets the criteria with precedent that they can't do that when you'd be allowed to do the same thing. That's what we're
May
here
I add, Mr. Chairman, Mr. and Mrs. Toussaint only have a 10-foot side yard, whereas the applicant is going to practically meet the code up to 94%. They're going to have a 13.2-foot side yard. So there'll be a 23-foot plus distance between the dwellings.
Appreciate that, Mr. Nicole. All right, Mr. Toussaint, you're anything further you'd like to say for the record?
No.
Okay. Does anyone else wish to be heard in this application? Does the board have any further questions? Mr. Nicole, I'll take a motion.
Motion to grant the application.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Application granted. Have a great night, all.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, members of the board. Have a good evening and stay well.
Thank you, everyone. All right, next application is number 241-21, Joseph Antonucci and Danielle N. Ciramello. Permission to leave a pool having a side yard of 12.8 feet instead of the required 14 feet. Residence A District, west side of Gladstone Avenue, number 106, 2,672.6 feet north of Finley Place, West Islip. Is there anyone here for the applicant?
Yes. Hi, I'm Denise Trefaro. I'm from DTT Designs, 1165 Broadway Avenue, Holbrook, New York. What we are asking for tonight is a variance on their pool, which was in place when they purchased the house, but it was pointed out when we went for a variance for a rear yard addition that was granted that the pool was a little short of the side yard. So that's what we're here for tonight. The 12.8 feet instead of the required 14 feet on the existing pool.
And is there any precedent in the area that you know of for side yard relief for a pool?
I do not know that.
Deirdre, any precedent in the area for planning?
The only precedent is an above ground pool with a side yard of 10 feet, but otherwise there's nothing. This is only, I think, 1.2 feet.
That's less than 10%.
Sure.
Yeah, no objections.
Okay, does anyone wish to be heard in this application? Does the board have any questions? Mr. Wax, I'll take a motion.
I'll make a motion that we grant the application, Mr. Chairman.
Favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Application granted. Have a good night.
Next application is number 242-21, Maria DePinto, Brian J. and April M. Burfiend. Permission to erect a one-story addition, 4 feet by 33 feet, leaving a rear yard of 18 feet, and a one-story addition, 14 feet by 16 feet, leaving a rear yard of 24.7 feet, instead of the required 25 feet each, and to install a pool patio, leaving side yards of 4 feet instead of required 6 each. Residence B, 278 Cluster District, northeast corner of Shadow Grove Lane, number 112, and Greenbelt Parkway West, Holbrook, New York. Sorry about that, Mr. Chairman. Is there anyone here for the applicant?
Yes, I'm Denise Trefaro, 1165 Broadway Avenue, Holbrook, New York, from DTT Designs.
Decided to push your luck, huh?
Yeah. So 2 things. We're asking to put an addition across the back of the house that you'll see has the diagonal shading on it at the left-hand side there, or the northwest side. We're asking for 18 foot. And then for the larger addition closer to the pool there, it's 24.7 instead of the 25. And then the second thing is for the pool, to have a consistent just patio around that for the 4 feet on either side. And it's just a sliver of that circumference going around the pool that would actually encroach, on the 6 feet.
Right, Deirdre from planning to the rear yard property line of this property, any objection?
No objections. It's only at 2 points. Otherwise, it's completely conforming.
Does anyone wish to be heard in this application? Does the board have any questions? Mr. Wax, I'll take a motion.
I'll make a motion that we grant the application.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Application granted. Have a great night.
Great, thank you. You too. Have a good night.
Our next application, Mr. Chairman, so you know the question I'm going to ask, is adjourned from July 7th, 2020. Maria D. Vieira Sanchez, permission to, it's number 401-20. Permission to erect a one-story addition, 25.8 feet by 34.3 feet irregular, and a roofed over entrances leaving rear yard of 22.4 feet and cellar entrance leaving a rear yard of 23.4 feet instead of the required 25 feet each, to establish an accessory apartment pursuant to Islip Town Code Section 68-602, and to leave a 6-foot fence on the second front property line, not having the required setback of 10 feet and having 7 feet from the street pavement edge instead of the required 8 feet. Residence A District, northwest corner of Garden City Street, number 59, and Martinstein Avenue, Bay Shore, New York. Is there anyone here for the applicant?
They're here. If we can help them.
Can you hear me?
Oh, good evening.
Hi. Oh, hello. Okay. Jose Taveras, our architect, married for the client. I wasn't here at the previous hearing, but pretty much I do remember we had this large garage which was converted with a very close setback distance to the rear property line, which wasn't going to fly. So we basically removed most of it, leaving just the portion that leaves the bathroom area. So we can use it in the new addition that we're proposing. We also had to move the existing cellar entrance from the location we had it originally to the rear because it interfered with the existing gas line. But I believe with these revisions that we've made, at least we've made the application a little bit better. The existing fence on the secondary side yard, we're looking to see if we can maintain that. It's been there for, I believe, around 30 years, is what the client is saying. Does anybody have any questions?
Nothing yet. Deirdre, I'm assuming they met with you and or someone in planning, and you like this application a bit better than the other one?
I don't believe I met with them, but I have no objections. The only thing is the fence.
So you do have an objection.
For the lots 13,250, I think we see up to 12,000. Right? For this.
So, yes.
So, obviously the fence is an issue. Everything else seems to be de minimis. We as a board have an issue with the fence due to the code. It's a little bit too large there. Can you move that fence back in a little bit?
I'm sorry, say that again. I couldn't hear you too well.
The board has an issue with the 6-foot fence in the second front property line. You'd have to move that fence in a little bit.
How much? A foot? Is that the issue?
It has to be setback of 10 feet, right? Has to be 10 feet in, or it has to go down to 4 feet.
Or it has to go down to 4 feet.
Yeah.
We'll move it.
Okay. Does anyone wish to be heard in this application? I'm sorry, Mayor, the apartment is 372 square feet. I'm assuming driveway complies, right? He's good?
Yes. Yes, the apartment is small, the driveway complies. This is substantially different from the way you heard it on July 7th of 2020. That proposal was to attach to a detached structure and have a very shallow rear yard.
Sure. All right, does anyone wish to be heard in this application? Does the board have any questions? Mr. Nicole, I'll take a motion.
Motion to deny that portion of the application related to the 6-foot fence on the second front yard property line and to grant the balance of the application.
For a period of
Second.
Oh, and to grant the apartment for a period of 3 years.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye. Aye.
Thank you very much.
All right, you're welcome. Next application is number 243-21, Robert J. and Elizabeth E. Bricker. Permission to erect a 1-story addition, 2nd-story addition, and to alter roof line, leaving a side yard of 10.1 feet instead of the required 14 feet. Total side yards of 27.2 feet instead of the required 28 feet, and a floor area ratio of 33.92% instead of the permitted 25%, to erect trellis, leaving rear yard of 22.5 feet instead of required 25 feet, and to install a driveway, leaving a side yard of approximately 1.3 feet instead of required 4 feet. Residence B District, west side of Nancy Drive, number 24, approximately 300 feet west of Handsome Avenue, Sayville. Is there anyone here for the applicant?
Good evening. Sorry. Go ahead, Robert.
Robert Bricker, 24 Nancy Drive, Sayville, New York, 11782. I am the property owner. I've been in the property for almost 27 years now. So reason for our changes is a few. We're looking to have my mother and father-in-law move in with us. And also, I'm sure as everybody's aware of home office requirements now. Everybody's working from home. So those two things and a more contemporary master bedroom and master bath. So my architect, I think, will go over all the details, but that's what I'm looking for. Thank you.
Thank you. Good evening.
Good evening. James Bowler, my office at 85 East Main Street in Bayshore. The house is a 1-story residence with a non-conforming side yard of 10.1 feet. We're not doing a second floor addition on the 10.1 foot side. We're basically changing the roof line, so the massing of the new design is going to match the massing of the addition. We did reach out to planning, and there is a precedent in the area, 340 Handsome at 34.4% FAR. And also, the other thing is the driveway. And the fact is that, again, we're the 10.1 feet is existing. So, and we're also adding a porch, which is not a variance.
So the 10.1 feet is existing right now?
Yes, sir. Yeah,
Converted, I got your garage converted to habitable space. Okay.
that's correct.
For Deirdre from planning, is that the only precedent for the 34.4? And if it is, is it somewhat of a similar application, or?
So the one that's at 34.4%, there is no scan for it, so I wasn't able to see if there was anything else along with it. More recent grants were around 31.1 and 31.6.
I mean, Mr. Chairman, I look at this and it just looks like it's a bit too much.
I second that.
I will say that you know, we did reach out to planning and of course, you know, that there's no promise, but we did say anything below 34%.
Well, that's not getting where you need to be, Mr. Bowler. You heard what it looks like the Heartland was, what, 31, maybe 32, what was it?
Yeah, 31 and a half is the Heartland.
31
So
and a
we
half.
could be generous and say 32, but
Well, let's see, that's true, but Deidre, give us the precedent we have in the area. Could you read them off, highest to lowest?
The ones that were more recent that I was sure, because there was that
Yes.
code change where some of them counted the garage and things like
Right.
that.
So what are the recent ones?
Sure that didn't were around 31.15, 31.6, and then right around the code change, there was a 34.4 where I was not able to find, I didn't see a scan. And then older ones at one that was granted at 34, but part of the application wasn't granted, so they knew it'd be less
Right.
than 4. And
So
then from 02.
31.6 in modern history is our outer limit.
So what's this, maybe we round it up to a nice even number of 32. He's at 33.92. We could find maybe 2% to, one, whatever. maybe
0.9, yeah.
0.92% come down. Mr. Bowler?
Yeah, it's you know, it's difficult because we're stacking on the building.
I understand, but we have to worry about the nature and character of the neighborhood also, and
No, I do understand.
and we're at 31 and a half is the most we see. We're being a little bit more generous, which some of our board members hate that I'm doing right now, but I'm trying to.
No, I'm with you,
Even
Mr.
number.
Chairman. I'm with you this time.
Yeah,
And,
I think 32 is the magic number. I think we all agree.
Mr.
And
Chairman,
that's-
may I mean, obviously, this is the first time I'm doing this. If you look from what James has gone over, if you look in the design, there is a section that we are not including on the second floor, which would be a vaulted ceiling to try to minimize that floor area ratio. I know the square footage of the property limits us, but we are trying to do some things that when you say nature and character of the neighborhood.
Well, what I was saying, I know the area very well. What I was saying is that we have a code to uphold also as the zoning board of appeals. So if we keep letting it creep, as we call it, higher and higher, where does it stop? So we have some precedent. We have to look at a couple different things in the area. We have some precedent a little bit lower than what we're even giving you a little relief on. You're a little bit too much shy of that. We're kind of coming right down in the middle of it all. So our board has to vote on it, and we have to keep the area from expanding on this FAR. So we feel as a board, 32% is fair. You're looking for 33.92. I'm sure your architect can find that small percentage to make it at 32, and we can move on and you can begin your construction.
James, is that okay? I mean, obviously we have to go along with what the board says.
You don't have to. You don't have to.
No, I know. We want to oblige and follow as much as we can, what we can.
Right.
Okay,
Yeah, no,
I think you have our direction, gentlemen.
And I think you have a very competent architect who can sharpen his pencils and find it.
Okay.
He doesn't seem too confident.
No, I mean,
disappointed, right?
No pressure, Mr.
The real
Buller. No pressure
difficulty-
at all.
The real difficulty with this lot is the fact that the front yard is normal. The backyard is the problem. Because
Yeah, but it's not your setbacks that are
No, I
prohibiting you,
understand, but
you
in
know?
terms of the area, like if you walk into the house, it
Mr.
looks like
Bowler,
Sorry.
Mr. Bowler, I think you understand where the board's coming from.
I do.
Yes?
I do.
Okay.
Yes, I do.
All right.
Thank you.
I just have one housekeeping matter. The applicant called us after the public notices went out, and apparently it's just I don't even know if it's an error, but it should have been advertised in the name of Robert and Elizabeth Bricker, trustees of the Bricker Family Trust.
Correct.
Okay. Doesn't affect the application.
Doesn't affect
Thank
you.
you.
All right, does anyone wish to be heard in this application? Does the board have any further questions? Mr. Sullivan, I'll take a motion.
Mr. Chairman, I move to deny so much as the application as granting the FAR at 33.92 and grant the floor area ratio at 32.00 instead of the permitted 25, and to grant the remainder of the application.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Aye.
Have a great night, gentlemen.
Thank you.
Okay.
Good
Thank
luck.
you.
Next application, number 244-21, Christine Schmoger. Permission to erect a roof over porch, 5 feet by 42.8 feet, leaving a side yard of 10 feet instead of the required 14 feet. Residence B District, southeasterly terminus of Tax Court, excuse me, number 16, number 340.9 feet east of Grant Avenue, Islip, New York. Is there anyone here for the applicant?
Yes, James Zapka from Todd O'Connell Architects.
Hello, Mr. Zapka.
Hi, Mr. Zapka.
Good evening. Good evening, board members, Mr. Chairman. We're here tonight seeking relief to construct a front covered porch on existing two-story dwelling. As you can see from the plot plan, this house currently sits awkward on this lot. It also is a peculiar lot. It currently holds 10 feet as a side yard where 14 is required. All we're asking to do is to extend a porch 5 feet out from the existing front of the house. There's already a second floor cantilever in that area where we're going to be constructing. So we don't feel that this is a major request, and we look forward to the board's approval.
Great, Deirdre from planning, any objection?
No objections. There's side yards in the area for 10.7, 11.4, and another 10.7.
Great, does anyone wish to be heard in this application?
We did have the neighbor call, the neighbor who lives at 14 Tex Court. So Deirdre, if you can just show the aerial, we'll explain where that is. So the subject parcel has the blue tarp in the rear yard at the terminus of the cul-de-sac. The neighbor who called to express their opposition but didn't state what specifically the opposition was, lives adjacent to the west.
All right, duly noted for the record. Thank you, Ms. Passaro.
Great, does anyone else wish to be heard in this application? Does the board have any questions? Mr. Wex, I'll take a motion.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I'll make a motion that we grant the application.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Application granted. Have a great night, Mrs. Zapka.
Thank you. Have a good night.
Mr. Messina, I'm gonna jump off in 2 seconds, right back.
Do you want me to wait or you want?
No, keep going, I'll be right back, 2 seconds.
Okay. Next application is number 245-21, Fairfield Courtyard at Bohemia LLC. Permission to leave 12 roofed over porticos, leaving front yard of 34.7 feet instead of the required 50 feet. Residence CA District, northwest corner of Island Boulevard, number 47-55 and Smithtown Avenue, east of Walnut Avenue, Bohemia, New York. Is there anyone here for the applicant?
Yes,
Name and address for the record, please, sir.
my name's Stephen Laverty. I'm with Fairfield Courtyard at Bohemia. Our office is at 538 Broad Hollow Road, 3rd floor east in Melville. And
So tell us about your application, sir.
this is a 60-unit apartment complex that we acquired approximately a year ago. It consists of 2 identical and unique buildings, hence the name Courtyard. So we're doing a renovation, updating the property, trying to make it look nicer.
And so what are you doing? You're putting on like porches or decks? Or
No, all we're asking for is to be able to put porticos on the front of the buildings that face Island Boulevard. And I guess back in the day when this was built, there was like a 39-foot setback. And we wanted to add these 5-foot deep porticos just to keep the residents, give them some protection from the elements. And it also gives the building some character when you look at it from the street.
Do you have an elevation that shows what they would look like?
Actually, I submitted them on the plans.
I'm looking through what I have, so. I'm
Yeah, it's
sorry.
actually on A1. A1 right on the top. I'm sorry, I'm not that good at
No,
this.
no, no. A1, I'm not looking for the plan. I'm looking for like a drawing that'll show me what it looks like when it's built. Do you have that?
Well, let me just.
Yeah, it is on
let me
A1,
just
the
jump
elevation
in.
A1.
Hang on. Let me just, it says permission to leave 12 roofed over porticos. Am I missing something?
Well, there's actually two applications, and I wanted to ask that
No,
too.
but here's the question. Are they already there?
There's one building, the west building has the porticos already built, and the other building,
But we're
I submitted
concerning the one that they're already there. We're not
and we also,
concerning-
I have two permits in. I have permit in for both buildings, they're identical, and
But
each
hang
building
on,
has.
Hang on.
What Mr.
I'm
Wexler's trying to figure out is, did you build these without a permit?
The first building, the west building, yes. We were
All right,
starting work on it.
wait. Thank you. We established that. That's where I was trying to establish. The second thing is the call reads permission to leave 12 roofed over porticos leaving front yard of 34.7 feet instead of required 50. We're not talking about another application. This is just those 12 that already built. You keep talking about another, the east, the west. We only have one before us. Am I missing
What-
something?
Well, if I can, sir, I submitted. I had
Yeah,
to
you
submit-
can, but
I submitted two separate building permits because there's two separate buildings, and I was issued denial letters on both, and I
we
filed.
only have one for us.
Wait,
so
let
we
me ask you a
can't-
question. On each building, how many porticos are there?
There were six.
So
porticos.
the 12 in the call of the meeting represent the 6 existing and the 6 proposed, correct?
Yes, correct. They must
All
have
right,
merged.
there you go,
them.
Mr. Nicolia. Well done, sir.
So
Thank you,
just
Detective
for the
Nicolia.
future, let's not talk over everyone. I'm sure Deirdre's having a terrible time trying to, not Deirdre.
I'm sorry, I just had to get to the
Board is
heart
having
of
a
it.
terrible time trying to get this.
If
right.
I just want to ask another question, if I may. This was a large project. I'm sure there were plans and everything was filed and probably CNRs with the town. How did these come to be built? This wasn't like somebody building it in their backyard one night. This was a large.
Mr. Wex, I believe, and I could be wrong. that
Well, let's
these-
let him answer.
These have been here for many years.
These were built like in 1972. We purchased this from the original builder about a year ago.
Wait a second. I asked you before if you built them without a permit, and you said yes.
I thought you were referring to the porticos, sir. It was the porticos only when
Well,
we
that's the only thing we're here for is the porticos.
yes.
When were the porticos built?
They were built about, I guess, November. Maybe it was
So
November.
maybe, while the building might have been in 1972, the porticos were 2020, let's say, right?
Yes.
Okay.
So
I mean, I have to tell you, when I read the application, I didn't think that it was going to be such a heavy lift, but you've confused the heck out of us, and I'm starting to get the feeling that you're not being straight with us, and that's not going to go well.
So the porticos were built in 2020.
Yes.
Okay, answer my question. Did you build them or did the predecessor?
Excuse me, sir?
Who built them? Your outfit, Fairfield?
Yes, we
Okay,
did.
The next question is, how does a big outfit like this with all 60 units and Fairfields everywhere on Earth and Long Island, how do they build without benefit of a permit? How do they just put them up?
Well, sometimes the exterior renovations, doing this deciding and things like that, we don't know if they really require a permit.
You don't have lawyers and you don't have staff that got, all right.
Mr. Wex, if I could say one thing to the board, I grew up in this area and the buildings have been there for multiple years. I know the porticos are apparently built without benefit of a permit. I get that. They are doing a nice job cleaning up the area, facelifting the buildings. I'm not sure if planning disagrees with me, but I'm not too sure that this relief for these porticos are going to change the nature and character of any part of that area over there.
Well, thank you. We're not there yet. We're just, at least I'm, and maybe our vice chairman is just trying to establish how they got there and when they got there and who put them there.
And I'm sure Fairfield, and I'm sure Fairfield
Well, why
goes
don't we let
around.
him answer?
Don't speak
I
for
don't know, whatever.
Fairfield, Mr. Chairman. Now, come on.
I'm not speaking for Fairfield.
Well, you're saying you're sure
I've
Fairfield.
seen them.
Yeah,
I've
it
seen
sounds
them.
like you are.
I'm not speaking for them. I've seen Fairfield facelift a few projects in the area.
And they do
come
nice
in
work.
and
That's
They do
right.
nice work, and they
Alright.
change, they
We
clean
didn't,
up the area.
I just want to point out that we didn't put up all 12 porticos. We only have the 6 on the,
Because you got to stop
So
work
you only
order.
broke, so you
building.
only violated the code a little bit.
Yeah.
and then we filed our permit, so now we're waiting to do the work on the other building.
All
So
right.
did-
But that's
you
not the
get-
way it works. We
did you get
expect that from some mom and pop operation. What
Did
do
you
we
get a s-
have when we have huge corporations just building without permit? What
Did
is
you
that?
get a
where does
stop
that leave
work
us?
order, sir?
On the west building, yes.
Oh, so
there
that's
we go.
why you stopped. It wasn't because it was the milk of human kindness running through Fairfield. Mr. Laverty, I don't know what we're going to do on this, but it's not endearing to my heart that every time we scratch the surface, you have to kind of backtrack and amend what you said before. It's not helping you.
Like I said, honestly, I didn't think this was a big deal. And if you came and said, look, we screwed up, when we were told to stop, we stopped. We're here to ask for forgiveness on the one part and permission on the other. This would have been a very simple application, and we would have been 2 applications down the agenda by now.
So,
You're not ha-
Well, I apologize.
there we go. He apologized. Can we move on, please?
Sure, Mr. Chairman.
I love you guys, but come on.
Oh, not too much.
Deidre from planning, is there anything you'd like to say for this application?
They're minimal. The buildings themselves sit at 39.7, so it's just the bump outs for the porticos, so no objections.
All righty. Does anyone wish to be heard in this application?
We do have a neighbor who registered and indicated that they would like to speak. They've been moved to the panel, but it appears as if they don't want to speak any longer.
Okay.
Oh, wait a minute. May I have just unmuted? Nope, they're still muted. Just for, again, for housekeeping, maybe we should take a little bit of the blame. The application was very confusing the way it was submitted. It was 2 applications which appeared to be identical. When we took a closer look, we realized it was the same site. So
That was not confusing at all.
no, well, we made the choice in our office of not separating the applications because that's not typically the way we would handle them here in the town. of
Mr. Nicolia struck it got right to the heart of the matter. So
That's right.
it was not, it was no problem.
Okay, good.
Does anyone else wish to be heard in this application? Does the board have any further questions?
You really want to
Mr.
ask
Laverty,
that?
have you learned your lesson about building things without permits?
Yeah.
Yes, I'm very familiar with iSlip. I know everybody in town. I've been working with iSlip for 15
then why aren't
years.
you
You're not helping yourself.
Oh, you're not helping yourself at all. Listen,
Does anyone else wish to be heard in this application?
It doesn't help to tell that you know everybody, but
Mr.
you still
Sullivan,
violated the
Mr.
rules.
Sullivan, I'll take a motion.
Mr. Chairman, I move to grant the application.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
All right.
Well, thank you very much. I appreciate it.
Have a
Thank
good
you.
evening.
Thank you. You too.
a fine display of leadership, Mr. Chairman. The next application is number 162-21. Angel Tenazaka, permission to leave a portico having a front yard of 1.1 feet instead of the required 20 feet, resulting in a front yard occupancy of 44% instead of permitted 35%. Residence double A district, north side of Suffolk Avenue, number 957, 650 feet west of Willoughby Street, Brentwood, New York. Is there anyone here for the applicant?
I've moved the applicant into the panel. Angel, can you hear us? Hello.
Can you hear me now?
Yes, we
Here
can.
he
Good
is.
evening, sir. How are you?
Good evening. Yeah,
Name and
this
address.
is Tenesaka. And I'm asking for the permission to leave the portico having front yard of 1.1 feet instead of required 20 feet.
When was this portico built, sir? Your property holds 6.4 already.
Yeah, the portico was built soon I bought the house in 2015 when I changed the siding. So my nephews they did the job, and then he said it's gonna look nice if I make like a little portico to cover the door for the raining. So I said, go ahead and do it because I didn't know I have to get a permit. So
I
this was
think your cousin must work for Fairfield.
probably.
I appreciate your honesty, sir, but it's, you know,
It is refreshing.
It is
Deirdre, can you show me? Deirdre, did we send you the photos on this one?
Yes, also I put grass seeds in the back because
There
they
we go.
told me.
And can you show the before photo, Deirdre? Or do you not have the before photo?
That's nothing.
Yeah.
Never being closed.
I'm not even offended by that.
I'm not offended by it. Never being closed.
I think your nephew is right. It looks beautiful.
Yes,
And
thank you.
you should thank him very much for
And I
doing
mean, the
good
stoop
work.
could come out that far anyway. and it
Yeah,
wouldn't
I
matter.
think some Nicolak brick would look really good right on that.
Stop it.
So 44.4%, planning, I'm assuming would be okay with due to the character of how close this property sits in the front yard, correct? This is the dwelling, Deirdre?
Yes, as long as it's never enclosed.
Being closed. Sorry, never to be enclosed, right? You can't enclose that and make it a room.
No, it's a little one. It's just a step to go inside the door because there's a stairs on the side.
Yep, looks beautiful. Does anyone wish to be heard in this application? Does the board have any questions? Mr. Nicole, I'll take a motion.
Motion to grant the application.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Application.
Thank you.
Have a great night.
Have a great
Thank
night,
you
sir.
very much. Have a good night.
See how easy it is when you're honest?
Oh, yeah.
Next application, number 246-21, Anthony C. and Krista A. Sabatino. Permission to reconstruct and enlarge a second-story deck, leaving a side yard of 6.7 feet instead of the required 15 feet, and a floor area ratio of 42.8% instead of the permitted 30%, to leave a hot tub having a front yard of 51 feet instead of the required 60 feet, and a 6-foot fence having a second front yard of 2 feet instead of the required 10 feet. And on front yard property line, not having a required setback of 15 feet. Residence BAA District, southeast corner of Shore Walk, number 20, and Seabreeze Walk, Atlantic, New York. Is there anyone here for the applicant?
I am.
Buscemi, how are you, sir?
All right, how are y'all doing tonight?
Name and address for the record, please.
Yes, Larry Buscemi for Select Expediting, PO Box 679, Mount Sinai, New York, representing the homeowner.
Great.
Good evening.
State your case.
This is a application having multiple aspects. First one being the FAR for a proposed, as opposed to it actually having been built, rear deck, or an extension to an existing rear deck, actually, to be more accurate. I know that the FAR is rather high, but I understand that there is precedent in the area. And to be honest, when I do the calculations, and I obviously can't argue with zoning, but it seems to me that the FAR is lower than that. But however, we've got to go with the numbers that we were given. Again, I understand there's precedent in the area. It will be above an existing area that is astroturf and so on. So it's not really changing the look of the property at all. We also have a hot tub, which is 51 feet instead of 60 feet for required setback. I would assume that you would agree that that's fairly de minimis. And then we have the fences. Now, something that has to be noted is that Shore Walk is actually not, which is the second front yard, is not a road or a walk or anything. It was never constructed, and it's just trees and beach, and probably will never be constructed, given the layout of the property. The existence of the fence does not block anybody's view from anything because there's no, it does not exist.
Sure. All right.
And we hope you grant this application.
Deirdre, what's the precedent in the area for the FAR? Do you know of that?
So there's one precedent for 42%, but there's no scan with it. The other precedent in the area is 37.7 and a 36%. Otherwise, a lot of them included certain garages or decks that kind of brought it up that we don't really include now. So I wasn't able to really find anything other than the one I didn't have a lot of information on. And even that was less than the 42.8 that they're asking for. I found a hot tub precedent for a front yard of 56 feet. Everything else I wasn't able to find any precedent for.
I would have to think that you're, well, maybe you can let me know this, but I'm looking at it and saying the real only concern is the FAR. Everything else seems somewhat de minimis, no?
The second story deck with a side yard of 6.7 just seems very close to me when it's required 15 feet and there's no precedent in the area for a second story deck that close to the side yard.
What about the fence?
There's no precedent for that either.
If I may
If I
address,
could chime in, Mr. Buscemi, I, once again, I don't know if you heard earlier, but it looks like 36 and 37 is the heartland. We don't have anything. We have one, which 42, but that's an outlier. And I don't know if we're going to meet that and raise the FAR in this already tight area to 42. So I think 37, 36 is your range. Second of all, the 6-foot fence, there's no precedent.
Right.
And this has been the night of second story decks too close to the property line. I mean, how are we
Well,
going to allow
that and
the
porticos.
second-story deck 6.7 feet? How do the people get any privacy? There's so
Well,
little over there anyway.
if I may address that, there are two things. First of all, the deck in the rear, there's already a deck there that's maybe 10 feet from the property line.
Yeah, but that's that's on the ground or maybe 4 feet up, right?
No, it's second story. There's an existing second story.
You're going from 10 feet to 6.7, so you're
Yeah,
lopping
why-
off a third.
Why make it worse?
But that is also the setback for the house.
Well, that may be, but a house is different than a deck, no?
Is it?
So,
Or
so
can you
it,
look at- can you
so
look
it
at-
has been argued in front of this board this evening.
I'm sorry, can you repeat that?
He said, so it said a house is different than a deck, or so it has been argued in front of this board this evening.
Well, as far as privacy issues, I don't think it is though.
Right, it's worse.
I don't agree. I mean, you can look out, you sit at your breakfast nook in your house, looking out your window and look just as easily down at your neighbor as you could if you were on a deck. Again, the house, that is the house's setback. This is just in keeping in line with the house. In fact, it widens.
Can I make a suggestion? Save a lot of time.
Yes,
You
Mr.
know where we're headed. Maybe you want to take an adjournment. Reach out to planning and your architect. You know where our sentiment is, and you get the feeling we're not going to all of a sudden grant you the only 6-foot fence, or you the only 42.8, or you the only 6.7.
Well,
Why
the
don't
the 6-foot fence, Mr. Wexler, is, are you talking about the one that's on the northerly side? It's
Either one.
Yeah.
There's
Well-
one on the front property line.
Oh, I didn't see it.
So wouldn't that make sense to adjourn? You see where we're headed.
I see where you're headed, and
And by the way, Mr. Buscemi, just to add to that, you may be right about the FAR. I mean, I would encourage you to sit down. I don't think there are unreasonable people in the building department. You may be able to persuade them that your numbers are right, and then the FAR problem perhaps goes away for you.
all right. Can I request a short adjournment?
Yes, of course.
We
We
do
have-
we do have neighbors who would like to be heard.
Yeah, of course, but he's entitled to ask for a short adjournment.
Okay,
That's-
yep,
That's all he
yep.
asks for.
I know that your next question was going to be Mary, date.
No, it wasn't actually, but let's hear from the
Mary
Mr.
Kate.
Chairman.
May I point out that Mr. Messina has nailed my last name perfectly.
Thank
He
you, sir.
usually doesn't do that with Italo-American names. Some
Not
strange
tonight,
reason.
anyway, right? I'm having a bad night with that
Listen,
tonight.
only Sullivan and I get a pass on those.
That's right.
What's the next date, man, for giving Mr. Buscemi a short adjournment?
And I'm sorry to say it's May 25.
You're killing me, Mary.
Well,
But
okay.
I mean, you could roll the dice and see.
No, I'm
tonight.
not.
Yeah.
Well, let's
You're
see what
convinced? No.
let's see what the neighbors
Making
have to say
50%
anyway.
FAR.
Let's see what the neighbors have to say. Perhaps there's something there as well.
Does anyone wish to be heard in this application? Do you have him coming in, Mary?
He's there. Can you not see him?
I
No.
cannot. I do
Hang
not.
on.
He's waving.
Oh, this is Mr. Van Cott. We can't hear you, sir. There you.
Does he know to hit unmute in the bottom left corner?
He's not muted as far as I could see. I
Mr. Van
just think,
Cott, do you have any speakers on or microphone on your device? That may be the issue.
Mr. Van Cott,
Yeah.
why don't you call in on your phone?
Oh, hold on. I'm speaking through my
I
phone.
was speaking through his phone now.
Hmm.
Do you have to let the phone number in too, Mary?
Oh, there is a phone number in the attendee panel.
All right.
That's muted though for some reason.
Does it end in 8159, Mr. Van Cott? Just shake your head.
Mary, can we unmute that phone?
Tom's helping me out, I think, right, Tom? I'll try it.
There it is. Mr. Van Cott.
Any luck, Echo?
There we
There
go.
you
You
go.
got you now.
All right. Technology is a wonderful thing.
Name and
When it
address for the record, please.
Name is Jay Van Cott. I have a home at 26 Seabreeze Walk, Atlantique. Do you need my mailing address?
But that's okay. How are you tonight?
I'm well, thank you. We have this glitch straightened out. I wanted to point out, some of the points have already been hit, that the FAR, I'm concerned about the precedent of the FAR that's being requested. But I also heard some discussion that there are similar precedents on this FAR size in the community. And it's my understanding, it's my belief. I mean, I've been to a lot of hearings to hear these things. Those FAR numbers included first floor decks at the top. I know the rules have changed since, I think I heard it was from Hurricane Irene. So that now the first floor decks, I believe if they're within 5 feet of the ground, they don't count. Now, the survey I got with the application does not show any elevation, so I have no idea how high that first floor deck is on the property. Also, I'd like to point out there's a 6-foot fence around the entire property. And I also would like to say that the other precedent I wanted to try to make sure that we did our best to avoid was the 6.7 side yard setback for a second-story deck. Second-story decks in my history of attending these meetings have always been something special and you had to kind of stand by the rules because they have such an impact on the neighbors as far as privacy issues and noise issues. And over in Fire Island, second-story decks are going to be the place where parties happen and whatnot. So I just have visions of us eventually being able to shake hands out the side of our decks as we still encroach on the side yard setback. And that's pretty much my major concern, the precedence that FAR and that setback would establish. And I think Atlantique has a lot of two-story houses rather, that would in some cases would love to put up a deck within 6 feet of the side yard and have an FAR that's 42%, where the only difference is the second-story deck. The house itself, in this example, takes up about 31% of the FAR, at least based on the numbers I found on the town assessor's roll. So what's being asked for here is strictly for the second-story deck. And as I say, there are other homes, I'm sure, would like to have a bigger second-story deck. And if they happen to encroach on the side yard by down to 6 feet, some people would be happy with that. Their neighbors might not be, but they would be. Once this precedent is established, the neighbors won't have a voice.
Sure.
And that's pretty much what I wanted to say.
Great, thank you. I appreciate your time. Does anyone else wish to be heard in this application?
Yes, the neighbors to the south, both sent in an email, Gail Keely and Leo DeBabis. They couldn't be present tonight, but both emails are opposed to the application, both the deck and the increased FAR. They're adjacent to the south.
Right.
Mr. Buscemi, you may want to consider reaching out to those folks too, but that's
Yeah,
up
I've been
to
writing
you.
down the names.
Okay.
Mr. Venkata is not the neighbor that was noticed for this.
I'm not adjacent to the property. I'm 3 or 4 houses down from there. The neighboring, the adjacent neighbors had passed along the call of the meeting to me, and they know I try and attend these when they involve Atlantique, and there are changes to setbacks and FARs and other variances.
Gotcha.
Okay,
All right.
so are we adjourning?
Yes, we are, Mr. Wexler. I'll make the motion to adjourn if there are no other neighbors.
And I will second it.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Before we close, I'd just like to say thank you to Mary and Deirdre for their help in all the research they helped me put together for this.
They are
Thank
wonderful.
our chairman, Mr. Lorenzo, too. He does a very good job.
And Mr. Lorenzo. Have a
All
good night,
right.
gentlemen.
Good night.
Bye-bye.
Good
Our
night.
next application is
Tammy,
number
we'll see
one.
you back in May.
What's the exact date again?
25.
Okay.
Next
All right,
application
thank you,
is number
Bill.
199-21, Raul M. Garcia Rivera and Orbelina D. Garcia Delgado. Permission to leave a one-story addition, 12.1 feet by 25.4 feet, having a side yard of 3 feet instead of required 14 feet, and to leave a driveway on side property line not having required setback of 4 feet, Residence A District, east side of Wicks Road, number 371, 105.95 feet south of Hayward Street, Brentwood, New York. Is there anyone here for the applicant?
I've moved him in. Maybe he needs a little help. Juan, can you hear us?
Hello, can you hear me?
Hey, how are you tonight?
Hi, good evening. My name is Juan Lopez. I'm an expediter. I'm helping Mr. Garcia in regards to this application. I believe it's this side, this addition has been there for 60 years. And the owners of the next house right next to this addition, it's been Mrs. Bernadette Eddie Hudson and Elizabeth Hudson. They was born in this property. I spoke to them a few minutes ago, and they also was they assisted the last variance when it was the last hearing when it was adjourned to today, and they very happy. They loved as neighbor, Mr. Garcia. Also, we remedy the garage, the driveway, that it was too close to the property line. We already meeting the 4 feet as the town code. So that's pretty much what I want to say tonight. So please help us with this. I believe it's been for many years, and it's quite nice done. It's beautiful, and like I said, the neighbors, which is the owners that have been there for 60 years, they love Mr. Garcia, and they now, this side property is not bothering them at all.
Mr. Lopez, I appreciate that, and I'm sure Mr. Garcia is a fine gentleman. But I'm going to ask Deirdre from planning if we have any precedent of 3 on a side yard instead of 14.
The only precedent in the area is for a roofed over patio and a carport. The roofed over patio has 0.5 and the carport has 3.1 with the condition never to be enclosed.
Is that, I'm sorry, Mr. Chairman, is that structure that's there, has that been there in some form or another for 60 years?
60 years.
No, hold on, Mr. Lopez. I'm talking specifically about what's now denoted as the frame sunroom on the survey. That's been there for 60 years? Or the building itself, the main building has been there for 60 years?
No, the addition that is a frame on that side of the property.
Do we have any records that show that? Either Ms. Ryan or Ms. Pissarro?
But just let me say something. The CO states the CO was issued in July of 1959. And the first for a 1-car attached garage, a wood frame, 1-story cellar, plumbing and fixtures. So the frame sunroom I'm not sure 60 years is,
Well, 1960 would, 61 would be 60 years, Mr. Chairman.
I'm not
I mean,
sure that it would have been called out specifically in 60 years ago.
Well, and it also may have been illegal for 60 years, but it is possible that it has been there for 60 years. And if that's the case, you know, he does have a nature and character argument because it's been the nature.
I don't think that
No,
it's been
because
there
it's been
60
there for
years is
60
the
years, so it's part of the nature and character of the neighborhood.
How could it impact the character and nature of the
nature and
neighborhood?
character? Just because it's
one at a time, guys.
Hello? Yeah, I don't think that is the definition. Could be challenged on that. Just because it was there, that doesn't set the nature and character. The nature and character, I think, speaks to itself. What do the other residents and homes look like?
Fair enough, but how would this, if this has been there for 60 years, how would approving this change the character and nature of the neighborhood?
Well, if it doesn't belong there, I'll tell you how it changes it. We're going to have to now say, what, if a house had such a large extension there, 58 years, it doesn't count?
Yeah, pretty much.
Or 61, they get it? That's how it changes.
I'm willing to take that leap. Because, you know, I think when things have been there that long, it's hard to argue unless there's a record of, you know,
but
code.
We don't even have proof that it's been there that long.
Well, you're right about that, Mr. Wexler. And you know, if I was to consider this, I would ask that we give the applicant some time to prove that it has been there for 60 years.
I mean,
because you're right. I mean, we need something besides somebody saying something. You know, hearsay is what we have right now. We need something more. But if it's there for 60 years,
it is the character and nature of the neighborhood.
Exactly. And let's.
Oh, you know what? I would like.
Why don't we first see if we can even get that documentation? Is that fair?
So
Mr.
I'm
Wexler,
sharing.
You okay?
I'm
with
sharing
that,
my
Mr.
screen. Can everybody see it?
Yeah.
Okay. So obviously this structure has evolved over these 60 years, right? Just by the looks of it.
Sure.
Probably wasn't built so that you couldn't stand all the way to the right in the room.
Might have been, because it might have been a carport originally.
It looks as if it was a roofed over patio of some
Right.
sort.
Yeah.
So Juan, while you're testifying that the structure that we see there has been there for 60 years.
Yes, we have. Yeah, we have. I actually have the neighbors right next on that area of the house. They spoke to us this afternoon, and they also called the town. They spoke to the town and testified that this has been there for 60 years.
But that's not the proof, Mr. Lopez. We need proof in admissible form. We need photographs. We need sworn statements. We need something, not just
or
what
you
the
could-
neighbors said.
But you can produce the neighbors and they can come here and testify, of course. But the best thing would be any kind of documentary proof, I think would help me, frankly.
We must have aerials.
I'm pretty sure that the town of Islip have all the tools to verify what I'm saying.
So good, then you know
go
what?
do your foils and find it.
That's
Yeah,
right.
go do your
That's
work.
on you. That's on you, sir. So, or the applicant, frankly. Aerials are fine. I mean, you know, would anyone be?
We're
Mr.
throwing you a
Chairman-
lifeline here. Take it.
Mr. Chairman, Mr. Wexler, are you okay with an adjournment to let him at least try to provide something?
I don't oppose an objection. I don't quite honestly think it's going to help. but
I understand you're skeptical, but.
Yes, of
Mr.
course.
Chairman?
Sure.
Mr. Sullivan?
That's fine with me. I just want to ask Mr. Chairman, did you say that it was on the CO?
No. The CO was the CO for the dwelling, not this structure, was July 3rd of 1959, and on the CO mentions nothing about this sunroom that's framed in, or even a covered covered porch or anything. And that's why I was saying the 60 years that it's been there. You know, the CO was issued in 59, 60. You're right around it. I get that. But if that was built with the home, which I'm assuming that's what Mr. Lopez, I believe, is alleging, it should have been somewhat
There's an easy solution to this. Mr. Lopez, go to the building department, hop on the microfiche machine and start pulling old records, looking at what was submitted. They very well may have it. When I was in private practice, I pulled older permits.
Now,
than
let me ask
this.
you let me ask you this with a lot of respect. If I go with this situation right now, where there's no way to access the building department, I'll be able to get those documents?
You
This,
can foil it.
You would file a
You
freedom
might
of
be.
information
I don't know.
request.
Talk to them.
Yeah. And
What
look,
will
if
be-
you need more time because you can't get to the building department, ask for it. As long as
well,
it's not,
yeah, I will need time. And also if I can ask you to provide me any extract, I mean, how can I get a FOIL request? Should I FOIL saying that I need a FOIL for 60 years in the history of the house? That the way I should FOIL it?
yeah.
I would start with the assessor's office.
And that's
the
as
building
far as we can
department,
go with you. We can't give you
historical
advice beyond
aerials.
that.
The two
Okay,
are there.
I think.
All right, I make a motion to, unless there's a neighbor, I'll make a motion to adjourn.
There is a neighbor.
Give me 6 months,
Neighbor.
please.
Hang on, there is a neighbor. Hold on.
There is a neighbor. This is our second adjournment, everybody, and we went through this on
Mary, why was it adjourned in the first instance?
the applicant appeared alone, and it was suggested that he obtain assistance. I'm sharing another screen because we have a floor plan in the file because the applicants are preparing to legalize this space. And forgive me and my sharing inabilities, but can everybody see it?
Yep.
Okay, so the
Mhm.
highlighted area is this room that's been there for 60 years.
Allegedly.
Help me out here. Does everybody see a toilet and a sink?
Yes.
You think those have been there for 60 years, Juan?
Not what is inside, but the framing on surrounding the property, yes.
Yeah, and that's a separate question, whether or not you have plumbing without a permit. That's not what we're here for.
Okay, I just thought maybe you'd be interested in the use. It doesn't look like a. sink.
Always interested, Mr. Sauer, in anything you have
No,
to
hold
say.
on. Hold on 1 second. I have someone, if you can please give me opportunity to hear this lady. She's the neighbor next door. She's here with us. I mean, the owner of the property next door.
Hello? I don't know if you can see me. Hello?
Hello, name and address for the record, please.
Okay, my name is Bernadette Policare. I'm
Could you
sorry.
just spell that last name for me, please?
P like Peter, OLICARE. I'm sorry, I'm a little winded. I was listening at my house and I walked over. It's 367 Wicks Road.
How are you tonight?
I'm very good, thank you.
State your case.
Okay, well, I just wanted to let you know, I haven't lived here for 60 years, but when my parents moved here, I was 10 years old. I'm 72 now. My parents had died 11 years ago. My husband and I were going to buy the house. He passed away 20 days later. So the house belongs to me and my two sisters. My other two sisters live on 339 Wicks Road. That's Elizabeth and Erin Hansen. The point I'm making is Julie Reed was the original owner of this house. I don't really know exactly. I think she lived here like 25, maybe 30 years. And then she sold it to Audrey. And they bought it from Audrey. So they're the third owners. Why wouldn't the town have known the CO? Well, and I know my parents had said Mrs. Reed had asked them about adding on the extension, but she must have added it on like 3 months after she moved in. Like I say, I was 10 when we moved here. And it's always been here for 60 years. Same windows. I used to babysit for her children. We used to play in that porch. We had a picnic table and
You just stated that it was a porch when you used to play in it. It appears
no,
from.
she called it a porch. It was enclosed. Sorry, I'm getting a headache. With windows, just the way it was.
But it's highly unlikely that even in 1960, the town would have granted a CO at 3 feet instead of 14. It's just highly unlikely. I can't imagine the town.
I don't
asked my
think she's.
parents-
Hold on,
They
Ms.
asked my parents.
Hold
to
on,
sign-
ma'am.
All right.
Ma'am, hold on.
All right.
I don't think her argument is that it was sealed. I think.
No,
her
I know
argument
that.
is
I
just
know.
that
I
it's
get
been there, you know,
I get.
for whatever that's worth.
I'm just adding my thoughts to the record.
Indeed.
All right, thank you so much for your time, man. I appreciate it.
Okay, you're welcome.
Thank you so much.
You're welcome. Alrighty. Bye-bye.
Does anyone else wish to be heard in this application?
We do have a letter. A neighbor delivered it to the office and asked for it to be presented. Deirdre, can you scroll up to the aerial photograph for me, please?
Do we have a live neighbor as well?
I don't believe so.
Okay.
So the letter is from the adjacent, oh, good, thank you, you're using the 2020 aerial. Okay. For the board's information, this aerial is pretty recent, 2020. That's the subject parcel where Deirdre's cursor is.
Right.
Neighbor lives adjacent to the rear. And the neighbor speaks of specifically the driveway because the width of the driveway apparently allowed cars to drive around the house into the backyard. And another call today came alleging that concerns that it would be a business use. And that's it.
Thank you. That's a good point about the driveway.
Juan, did you
But
tell us?
Wasn't that removed from the application though?
Yes.
Well, we haven't removed it yet.
Oh, well, all right.
I thought he said it is, and if I look at the survey that I'm seeing,
It was dirt.
it was okay. Because the concrete driveway is called out, and then what's around it was dirt, you're saying?
Juan, well, the photograph I have seems as if after
It's
the
gravel.
after the date of this survey, which was, anybody know, about a year ago, I think. Yeah, August of 2020, I guess they started to tear up the driveway. Juan, you don't have any photos of it removed, do you?
I can, yes, I can provide documents that, I mean, also that it's been, we have already the 4 feet that needs to be clear from the sides of the fence of the property line.
Okay.
Okay, good. All right, does anyone else wish to be heard in this application? Does the board have any further questions? Make a motion to adjourn this application. Mary, what's the date you want to adjourn it to?
Maybe adjourn this to,
Can I make a suggestion? How
Sure.
about we reserve for submissions?
Okay, that's an excellent idea, Mr.
Thank you.
Sarah.
All right.
That's why we,
Reserve.
so I make a motion to reserve for submission, so to allow 14 days for him to submit documentary evidence, and 62 days thereafter, we'll make a decision.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All right, thank you very much for your help.
You're
Thank you.
welcome. Good luck.
Have a good night.
Yeah. Next application number 247-21, Megan P. and Dennis M. Harney Jr. Permission to erect a two second-story additions, leaving a side yard of 9.8 feet instead of required 14 feet. Total side yards of 24.7 feet instead of required 28 feet, and floor area ratio of 32.5% instead of permitted 25%. Residence B District, west side of Sunset Road, number 32, 846.78 feet north of West Main Street, Bay Shore, New York. Is there anyone here for the applicant?
I've just moved in Chris Ang.
Good evening, Chairman, members of the board.
Hey, Mr. Tang, how are you?
I'm doing well. How are you? We are proposing second-story additions that will reduce the one side yard from 9.8 feet from the required 14 feet, and overall of 24.7 instead of the required 28 feet, and an overall FAR of 32.5 instead of the required 25%. I actually had a conversation with Deidre, and I understand that there's we don't have precedence for the 32.5, but we do have precedence for around 30%. So I'd like the board to consider 30% instead of 32.5, and I feel that the side yard setbacks are not extreme, and we're trying to, well, we are keeping the side yard setbacks. The second story additions are going on top of the first story.
You'd like to amend the call of the meeting to and floor area ratio of 30% instead of 25?
That's correct.
Make a motion to amend.
Second.
Second.
In favor?
Aye.
Aye.
And side yard, Deidre, for planning, side yards, staying in line with the dwelling, any objection from planning?
No objections. There's a precedent for 9.9. This is 0.1 more, so no objections.
Does anyone wish to be heard in this application? The board have any questions? Mr. Nicole, I'll take a motion.
Motion to grant the application as amended.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Thank
Good
you.
night.
Have a good night.
Two. Next application number 248-21 Lakeland Fire District. Permission to erect a two-story building, leaving a height of 44.94 feet instead of permitted 35 feet. Accessory building, leaving a rear yard of 0 instead of the required 10 feet. Accessory structure, a diesel tank, leaving a front yard of 12.9 feet instead of required 35 feet. Overall site landscaping of 14% instead of required 20%. Front yard landscaping of 6.1% instead of required 10%. Front yard landscaping depth of 2 feet instead of the required 8 feet. Shed 9.8 feet to the property line, located in the residential buffer. Buffer areas of 15.4 feet and 0 instead of 25 feet each, and 6-foot fence not having a setback of 5 feet from the street pavement edge. Industrial 1 District, north side of Johnson Avenue, number 929, 200 feet west of Locust Avenue, Ronkonkoma, New York. Is there anyone here for the applicant? And
Yes,
Mr.
several-
Chairman, while we're waiting for the applicant, I would like to ask the board to consider perhaps we undergo a Rochester analysis before we even entertain the zone, the setback requests, the area variances, in light of the fact that they would be moot depending upon the outcome of the Rochester analysis.
I'm here, Mr. Chairman. Good evening, Chairman Lorenzo and members of the board. My name is Bob Flynn. I'm an attorney with offices at 70 Main Street, and I'm here tonight representing the Lakeland Fire District. I also have with me tonight Alex Badalamenti and Matt Aylward from RM Engineering. Matt designed the site plan before you, and Alex designed the proposed building. So, Mr. Messina, I happened to watch the last one you had, so I was prepared for this one on Islip Terrace in January.
There you go.
So I am prepared for the Rochester, the Monroe Rochester case. And as in that case, this has been and always has been and will be purely firematic. The applicant is the Lakeland Fire District. It's a political subdivision of the state of New York. It was created pursuant the legislative grant of authority is the town law section 170. What is the function of the land use? As I said, the existing land use for the last 60 years, the Lakeland Fire District purchased this property in 1950, I think, and thereafter erected the existing firehouse. The existing firehouse has been at the site for 60 years. It's approximately 21,500 square feet in size. The proposed building will be slightly larger. It'll be just over 23,000 square feet. So really what we're doing in a sense is a replication with respect to the main building of it's really a replacement in kind. The proposed firehouse will be purely firematic in nature. It'll include 5 bays to house the vehicles, 4 ambulances, a communications and dispatch center, offices for the chief of the fire department, 4 EMTs, commissioner's office, a mechanics bay area, meeting hall for the fire education training and department meetings, and for the volunteers. There's a kitchen as well. The accessory structure to the rear, this is a unique fire district. They not only service the community of the commercial, residential, and industrial area, but they also serve, as I'm sure Mr. Messina is well aware, they serve Islip MacArthur Airport. They do fire and rescue there, and they cover exclusively Lake Ronkonkoma. So there's a need for an accessory structure for purely firematic purposes, because they include the storage of a brush truck, a Class A pumper. It'll be for a boat, the Lakeland Fire District boat, the Lakeland Fire District hovercraft, a storage area for the spare hoses, spare adapters, scuba equipment, and some area for maintenance and landscaping tools. The diesel the diesel tank there will be also purely firematic in nature, in that it will only be used, it is only used now and only will be used for the trucks, vehicles, ambulances and whatnot, exclusively for fire district vehicles. So there's 4 or 5 other questions. What will the impact be on the public interest? Whether any alternative methods were thought of, the extent of the public interest to be served by the improvement, and whether there's been an opportunity to be heard. So with respect to the impact on the public interest, I think it can be nothing, you can be deemed nothing but positive. The public will be getting a brand new firehouse. The existing firehouse is almost 60 years old, and it's a building that's failing. In fact, in part of the application you have before you, the writer, I pointed out that an alternative to the building, to the new building, was considered, and that would have been to renovate the existing building. So approximately 2 years ago, the Lakeland Fire District Board of Fire Commissioners did commission a study, and that study was to examine renovation versus building anew. The conclusion, which I put in the rider to the application, was that it was not feasible or economically prudent to renovate. This building now is plagued with code and safety deficiencies, not ADA compliant, not OSHA compliant. The mechanical and electrical systems and the ventilation are seriously deficient. And the wood frame of the building does not meet the load requirements of the New York State Building Code. So when you talk about the extent of the public interest to be served, the other question, again, there'll be a brand new firehouse with a state-of-the-art communications and dispatch system that will provide for better and faster communications and response to emergencies. The new facility will be more conducive to attracting new volunteers and suitable for training and education purposes. And the other benefit is that the taxpayer funded equipment, apparatus, vehicles, and fire trucks will be able to be housed in and stored in the new firehouse and the accessory building.
Is this the main firehouse for the district?
It is, Mr. Messina, it is. And there's 2 substations, but this is the heartbeat of the whole Lakeland Fire District. And the other question, whether or not there was an opportunity to be heard. So that when the study was done, and the board made the determination that a new building was necessary and the renovation could not happen, they hired BLD Architecture and RM Engineering to do the plan for the building and the site plan. But after that, what they did their own CEQA study, issued a negative declaration. Also, they had a public meeting, which they publicized.
I'm sorry, Mr. Flynn, can I just interrupt you?
Sure.
Those issues aren't directly before us at this instant. I just would like to follow our vice chairman. He said preliminarily we have to determine the Rochester issue. So if I may just ask, I guess, our counsel, Mr. Garbarino, my question is, we all understand Rochester, but I would like a little clarification if you can, or anybody. If we determine that it's covered by Rochester, does that allow a fire district in this instance to build whatever they want? If they want to build at 100% FAR, 40 stories, is there no limit?
State code is your limit, Mr. Wexler.
Okay.
Yes.
And so as far as our concern, if they wanted to build a relaxation of 6 inches from the property line, are they entitled to? In other words, the zoning board has no say?
That would be correct, although I doubt with their type of use that they would be allowed to go to 6 inches without asking for certain variances from the state code. I don't profess to be an expert in that, but I have some familiarity.
Preliminarily, I will continue the hearing, I imagine, but I want to know at what point, because we all understand and we all agree fire departments and districts are good. We need them. They're helpful. They're wonderful. And everybody wants their houses protected and property. My question is, how big is big?
Well, the problem is that
what is it that we need to
Yeah.
permit?
The judicial decisions say, look, if you are, a municipal entity and this is for a municipal purpose, frankly, zoning does not apply to you. And it's the same with the buildings that the town of Islip itself owns, for example.
Right.
And they're being treated no different as long as they're using it for the municipal purpose. Now,
Right.
if they wanted to have a gym and an entertainment room over there, I think maybe we might have an argument. But I'd like to hear from the public, obviously, but I think Mr. Flynn has hit what he needs to hit, addressed what he needs to address for.
Yeah, and if I could, Mr. Messina, the only thing I was making, and Mr. Wexler, what I was trying to make clear that one of the standards is whether or not the local community has had an opportunity to be heard. And the fact is that they have. So they not only came to the public meeting, and that meeting went very well. I was present. They could voice their opinion on it. But a month later, there was a bond issue put before the residents of the Lakeland Fire District, which was for the purposes of this project, and it was overwhelmingly approved. So this is the third time, really, that the public has had a right to.
I have a question, and this may be directed to Mr. Garbarino, but Mr. Flynn, after he answers, you're more than welcome to opine. Does the requirement that the public, or the question, has the public had the opportunity to be heard? Is that satisfied by meetings that are not in front of us?
Well, if I can answer, what it shows is that the public has been given due notice, and I mean certainly a vote is an opportunity to be heard. The public overwhelmingly approved this project.
Mr. Flynn, I think Mr. Nicolio was asking Mr. Garbarino.
Oh, I'm sorry.
A question, and then you have a chance to find
not to doubt you or the district in any way, but we weren't there. We don't know what was said, and also we don't know what was presented to them.
No, but you have this hearing.
I was getting there. That may be a moot question as it is, because this is the opportunity for them to be heard, I suppose.
Right.
I guess it was more of an academic question.
So are there people to be heard, Ms. Pissarro?
Well, the person who was interested, and we did respond with some documents from the file, was registered and did indicate that they wanted to speak, but maybe they got tired of us and they're no longer zoomed in.
Or maybe their questions were answered.
Or maybe they were answered, but they are no longer zoomed in. I've emailed them to reach out, but they're no longer present.
All right. Mr. Chairman, in light of that, in light of the testimony, I would like to make a motion that Mr. Flynn has satisfied the Rochester test, and as a result, we need not determine the variance application.
We would ask, I'm sorry to interrupt on the motion.
No, please, if you can add to it, please do.
Well, again, some housekeeping items. We're trying very hard to only have the fire district be subject to one public hearing. And after they leave us, when they begin site plan review, to not have to have another hearing before the planning board. A lot of fire districts are coming to us for reconstruction right now. So we're trying to get some consistency in how they're handled. So that's why the call of the meeting has some items that you're not used to seeing about landscaping, and a very diligent attempt has been made by the town and by the engineer to incorporate all these things that would usually be addressed later in the review process. So
then, to the extent that relief needs to be granted, if at all, my motion would be that it be deemed granted.
So I would suggest that that the grant be in substantial conformance with the last submitted site plan, which is dated March 9th of 2021.
What she said. That's my motion, Mr. Chair.
I will second.
All in favor?
Aye.
I wish to thank you for listening, and we didn't bring up a portico or a second story deck.
Oh my God.
We would have ran you out of town on a stick, Mr. Flynn. You did a great job, though, sir, as you always do. Well done.
Thank you. And I'd just like to say thank you to Mary Pissarro for all her help she's given us along the way, and to the chairman as well.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, our last application this evening, or last hearing, is number 249-21, Dominic and Ashley Sincumani, permission to install an in-ground pool, leaving side and rear yards of 10 feet instead of the required 18 feet each, and to leave detached garage 26.08 feet by 24.25 feet, having a side yard of 4.0 feet and a rear yard of 5.79 feet instead of required 10 feet each. Residence AA 278 Cluster District, east side of Jewel Bet Drive, number 97, 520.57 feet north of Sunrise Drive, Sayville, New York. Is there anyone here for the applicant?
You're here. Dominic and Ashley Cinquemani.
I'm sorry I butchered your name, ma'am.
No, that's okay. You actually did it pretty well.
I just
97
for the
Gilbert
record.
Drive, Sayville, New York, 11782.
Great. How are you guys tonight?
Good, how are you?
Good. You're seeking permission for a pool, just to let the board know. I'm not sure if you all have copies of COs in front of you, but I do. There was a swimming pool in ground 16 by 32 with a CO back from 1979. There was a demolition permit for an in-ground swimming pool of that size in 87 on that. There was also, as an accessory building, detached garage on the CO in 1981. Also, it says approximately 500 square feet. Just to give you guys that heads up before we start the.
Which is pretty much what this one is, right?
Correct. Yep.
Same locations?
Same location. Well, it doesn't, it just
Well,
says
yeah.
detached garage.
Does it indicate if there was a variance granted?
I
There's
think there
no
would
there.
have to be probably because this is a cluster, remember, right?
Right.
So,
Yep.
you know, the lots are smaller. I would imagine they needed some variance relief of some kind previously.
Yep, and there was also driveway apron curb break for the driveway, which leads up to the garage, all laid
No,
out.
You're right. You're right.
So the whole kit and
I'm
caboodle.
sorry, was it a prior grant of this board?
It doesn't show that on the CO. It just shows that there was a CO for the accessory building and a CO for the pool, and then a C for the demolition of the pool in 87.
But
Yeah, and
do we know
there's
if the
no-
pool was in the same place? Or are we
Uh, it-
guessing?
Well, there's not
guessing.
much room for that.
I don't
pool.
think we're
Yeah,
guessing. I think
we're guessing. We're guessing.
We're
but,
guessing.
But it's a bit of an educated guess because if you take a look at the survey, where else are you going to put those things?
Yeah.
And they wouldn't comply in either location. Even if you switch them, they wouldn't comply in either location. So, if they were both there,
Well,
either
then
the
if we're
code must
going
have
to-
changed or,
Yeah, if we're
something.
going to grant this, then I think, we should specify that it was there via a CO because
See,
I
and
agree.
that's why we get along so well, Mr. Wexler.
Shed.
That's why we were talking about it. See that?
significant
The
relaxation.
presence of our chairman. Long may
I
he
wanted to bring
reign.
it to everyone's attention before we started with it because I just wanted to read the CO that I have here in front of me.
And the applicants are looking at us like, what are these idiots talking about? Sorry about that, guys. Just
No,
a
that's
little
okay.
inside fun. It's been a long
I'm actually
night.
very glad that you had that information because we were trying to remember exactly when the detached garage was built. But I knew that it was around the same time that the pool was demolished. So
Okay.
I knew it was in that time frame.
It's all here on your CO. So it is, I'm assuming Deirdre from planning is going to agree with my CO reading or not, or
What was the size of the garage on the CO again?
it was approximately 500 square feet.
That just makes me a little nervous because this one is 632 square feet.
24 by
Deirdre,
26.
24 by 24. Come on now. It's 8 o'clock. I'm hungry.
Yeah.
Deirdre, did we send you the photo of this one?
So yes, there is a photo.
There's a photo so that's how it got larger?
Correct. So I don't know when this was done, but the actual garage is probably, I would assume, 500 square feet. But that little piece that's an add-on, I believe was added on after the fact, which I believe is what makes it over 500 square feet.
I have no problem with this.
I have no problem with it either.
Me neither.
And
Does
then as
anyone else
far
wish-
as the pool,
Ma'am,
we're good.
ma'am,
Just-
you're ahead of the game.
sorry.
Yeah, we're
It's
good.
okay. Trying to help you here.
Does anyone wish to be heard in this application? Does the board have any questions? Mr. Sullivan, I will take a motion.
Mr. Chairman, I move to grant the application.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Application granted. Have a great night.
Thank you.
Good luck.
Thank you.
Okay. Ms. Pissarro, I believe we have a couple of decisions to read into the record, do we not? Ms. Pissarro?
We lost Mary.
Yeah, here I am. All right, I'm sorry. I have to hang up. The board needs me. Okay.
Oh,
Who,
geez.
who dare call you when you
My
need them?
brother-in-law about the care of my dad. who-
I am only kidding.
Okay. All right. We have 8 accessory apartments to renew.
Motion.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay, and we have 3 reserved cases to unreserved.
Unreserved. I like that.
Unreserved.
Oh, gosh. Okay. The person who wanted to comment did send in questions to a site. Okay, we'll respond to him. That's fine. He doesn't sound like he was opposed to the fire district. Okay, give me 1 second. A lot of emails.
You want me to read it, Ms. Pissarro?
No,
I don't
no,
mind.
I got it. Okay, application number 125-21, Megan Heath. In accordance with the proposed written decision dated April 27, 2021, the application is denied as to the 1-story addition. What's the matter? Oh, okay. And granted as the remainder of the application. On motion of,
Motion.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
sorry, I should have said that was in West Islip. The next 2 are in Bohemia. Application number, Bohemia and Oakdale. Application number 126-21, Unique Holdings of Oakdale LLC. In accordance with the proposed written decision dated April 27, 2021, the application is granted on motion of,
Motion.
Second.
Second.
application number 99-21, BW Development. In accordance with the proposed written decision dated April 27, 2021, the application is denied as submitted as to an FAR of 100%. However, granted with a floor area ratio not to exceed 82.5% on condition that 1/3 of the building be below ground as proposed at the public hearing. On motion of,
Motion.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All right, I believe that concludes our business tonight, Mr. Chairman. I'll make a motion to adjourn.
Hallelujah.
All in favor?
Second.
Aye.
Third. I'll third.
I'm out of here.
There was a lot.